Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moffat Books Presents Edge, a virtual book club. I am so excited that you have chosen to join my virtual book club, which makes you one of my edges. And in the very wise words of my niece, if you don't have edges,
I don't have nothing.
now, before we continue, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. That way you are notified every time a new video drops. Consider this to be your spoiler alert because we will be using the interactive guide for our first series of book club meetings. That's right, for the next 10 sessions, we will be using the exercises in that interactive guide. So make sure you get to moffatbooks.net to get your copy today. Now that we've got all the housekeeping out the way, how about we jump into some content? Edge of your dream. Every day, give everything. Escape, read, truth with Moffat Books. This week's topic in the interactive guide is surrounded around our core longings and how they affect the type of people we become. And here to help me speak on this topic is none other than Miss Candace Purifoy. She's a mommy, she's a wife, she's a minister, she's a counselor. Let's just say she does it all. And I'm so excited that she is here to help us discuss this topic today. So, Miss Candace, can you please share a bit of your background and how it relates to this topic?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It is just such a joy and a pleasure to express this and to go through this information with you. So like you said, I am a licensed professional counselor. I am a therapist in the state of Michigan. I own Refreshed Counseling Services, which is a Metro Detroit area counseling practice centered around helping believers to bridge the gap between ministry and mental health.
No matter what your beliefs are, there's someone out there that can help you through this journey. So I'm very, very excited. The interactive guide that we are featuring for this book club is pretty much a series of 10 different entries. And so the very first entry that we will be focused on today is called Digging Up the Root. I truly believe that it's very important before we can do any work inside, we have to find the root, name it, dig it up, and figure out what it is that has us that gives us the wounds and the pain and the things that we carry around. So in that section, we focused on the core longings and things like that. So I would like to ask you, Miss Candace, to explain what are core longings and how do they affect us as humans?
We are created with a God-shaped hole, a chasm, if you will, within us that is designed for God to fill, right? And so what tends to happen as we are children, we're looking for our parents to fill that hole. We're looking for them to fill that chasm. And there are areas at times that because of their own faults, flaws, experiences, things that they have had in life, there can be parts and areas that go missed. So when we talk about what are those core longings, what's in that chasm, what are we looking to feel? It's love, it's purpose, it's significance, it's acceptance, it's security, it's safety. And so when our parents are unable to meet some of those needs or some of those core longings go unmet, that's when we can find ourselves moving toward and experiencing dysfunctional behaviors. We develop out of our wounds. When we look at the structure of woundedness, we can develop false beliefs about ourselves and the world and our place within it.
You mentioned that like our parents are the ones that we depend on to kind of fill these core longings, right? Is it that we can only get these fulfilled with our parents, or can we seek other healthy ways to satisfy those longings?
So we definitely look to other sources to find and fill these needs. And the unfortunate reality is that most often they are unhealthy. All of this usually is built on false beliefs. So when we have a core longing that goes unmet, let's say there's an unmet core longing of acceptance, for example, we can very often then develop out of that wound, out of that place of having this unmet core longing of acceptance, we can develop a false belief that says, if I am truly myself with people, people will reject me. If I show them who I am, they're going to reject me and not want me. Well, based on that wound, then what we might develop, based on that unmet core longing and that false belief, we might develop people-pleasing behaviors. Where now we're not showing people who we really are, we're showing them whatever we think they want to see so that they will continue to accept us. You see, so we're not allowing ourselves to be our full, authentic self in order to receive what it is that we're actually looking for. So ultimately, the core longing still goes unmet because we're not truly being accepted for who we are.
I think that is so deep, like just to think about just different mechanisms and things that we put up as defenses, we end up almost, I don't know, tricking ourselves or believing that this is who I am. This is
Yes.
what I do, when that's not who we are really. But we've been doing it for so long that sometimes we don't even know that that's what we're engaging in.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We can really disillude ourselves, and we can find ourselves taking on what the world has tried to give us about who we are. And so now we have an identity that it has nothing to do with who we really are, but is what we have allowed to be put upon us. And so now we're trying to get needs met for a person or a persona that is actually not even who we are. One of the things about unmet core longings, it can leave us very vulnerable to addictive behaviors. We can find ourselves trying to find those needs met in various, you can think of any type of obsessive or compulsive behaviors like food, sexual addictions, pornography, substances, smoking, anything. We can find ourselves vulnerable to addictive behaviors. And then also we often try to meet those needs out of what I refer to as the 3 Ps, which is people pleasing, performance based living, and perfectionism. We will often try to meet those needs on our own in those 3, somewhere in that camp of those 3 behaviors.
Wow, people pleasing, performance, and perfectionist.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure I've done all 3 of those things. Like, because
yes.
you just, when you're longing for something, it's literally like out of desperation, you will do whatever it is that you need to get that. Is it possible to be triggered later on and be able to live your whole life, and then something gets triggered, maybe in your adult life or in your first real relationship, that makes you say, geez, like, where did this come from?
Yeah, absolutely. We very often live unaware of what our deeper issues lie, because if you think about our emotional sort of way of being, if you think of it like an iceberg, right? There's the part of the iceberg that is above the surface, but then there's a much bigger part that's below the water. We see the above surface. So we might see some of the dysfunctional behaviors and problem life situations, but oftentimes we don't see the false beliefs and the wounds that actually are fueling those things. So we can absolutely live unaware of what was missed. The other thing is that for us growing up, we come into this world not knowing what normal, quote unquote, is. What we experience in our household with our families, that's what shapes our idea of normality. If we, let's say, for example, a father specifically, if we have a father who's emotionally unavailable, and is withdrawn, or distant, then we tend to believe very often that that's just how things are. We may grow up not realizing what the effects of that actually are until much later, or until there's some intervention in our lives that illuminates and sheds light on the fact that these things are connected.
Oh, that makes so much sense because I came from a two-parent household. I pretty much was born into the church. Like, father has always been a leader. My mom has always been a leader in the church. So, um, I've never wanted, struggled, nothing. Like we were very upper middle class. Like we were good. We were solid.
Mhm.
And so then when I see myself engaging in these behaviors, like what? And it's not necessarily a dig on what your parents did, but they did the best that they knew, right? And so it's not that, like, I always use the example of like, my dad was a coach a lot. Like now that we're older and we're able to say daddy, like I just need a hug. He's like, oh, okay. But when we were younger, he was the coach. He wanted us to always be the best that we could be. So if I was singing a solo, if I messed up, he let me know. If I preached a sermon and he thought I missed something, he let me know. And it wasn't that he didn't think I was great. It was that he was seeing past where I was and was trying to get me to where he thought I could go. But as a child, I'm taking that in as now I have a performance addiction and I want everyone to tell me that I'm great. And if you don't tell me that I'm great, then that means I'm not great.
Yes.
And so then I become an adult and I literally could walk in a room and if you didn't tell me that I was pretty, then that means whatever I had on wasn't right. It's not because my dad didn't tell me I wasn't pretty. It's not because my dad abused me. It's because the way that he parented me kind of fed into what I thought was normal. And I think that is the best thing, that was the best thing that you could have said right now, because in my mind, I have come to this idea that like we call them daddy issues. That's kind of what pop culture has labeled it. But I took that out and said that it's actually that the core of me is longing for something that I need, but I don't know that I'm longing for it because I've never had it fulfilled. So that's kind of what I'm struggling from. But because of pop culture, we just say daddy issues, but it could mean just anything that didn't happen in your childhood. One of the reality checks in this first entry is, after you list all of the things, like when were these core values ever missed in my life? If you can recall a specific time, then at the end, the reality is you have daddy issues with the pop culture label, right? You have something in there that you should explore. And I don't want people to feel like I'm forcing them to admit something that's so awful. Because it doesn't mean that you didn't have a good dad. It just means your dad, your mom, whatever, they cannot fulfill every single thing 100% of the time.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because for one, remember that this chasm is designed for God to fill. And our parents cannot be God. They can never do all that he can do. It doesn't mean that because a core longing was missed, that we are now on a path to an emotionally unwell life, that we're doomed to just sort of like, oh, it's going downhill. That's not the case. This is normal standard life development stuff, because our parents will always have something that they have missed. No parent can be God, so they cannot completely fill this gap.
What's next after I know, okay, I have issues. Now what?
We move into adulthood, we're able to start acknowledging, becoming aware of, okay, this is the need that I didn't get. This is the need that has gone unmet. One of the things that we want to talk about and look at is the concept of reparenting. And especially for those of us in the body of Christ or believers, it's that idea of letting God be Father to us. So I would say the first most important, most impactful step is go to therapy. Therapy can really be an important place where you can begin to unpack all of these things and where we can help develop a set plan on how to navigate and how to actually work through these issues. Because one thing that can feel at times very heavy when we step into the place of awareness and we start uncovering the issues that we have, they can feel very numerous, right? It can feel like, oh my goodness, I got this issue and that issue and this issue, and we just start feeling a little bit weighted down. But through therapy, you can begin to see that really, even though it feels like we have all of these separate issues everywhere, you can really begin to see that those issues usually stem from one root of a tree. Those are branches, but it's really just one root. And so that's one of the most impactful things that you can do. And you can really, I like to say that prayer, of course, is going to be a big part of it. But I like to say that prayer is the weapon. That's what's going to get the job done. But therapy is the battle plan. That's where you can know how to direct your prayers. What is it that I need God to help with? The other important thing is really being patient and kind with ourselves. To engage any process of healing from these types of issues, it's going to take time and it's going to take work. And so as you work through it, give yourself the grace and patience and kindness that you deserve.
I love that. Give yourself the grace and patience and kindness. I think it's so easy to extend that to everyone else, and we forget to give it to ourselves as well. We're so hard on ourselves. I just want everyone to know the purpose of all of this is just first commit to doing the work that we need to do to make ourselves our best, truest selves. And the way that we do that is by acknowledging that something was missed, giving it a name, finding the root, and then going through those steps, getting the therapy, praying, and reading the truths in the word of what God says about you. And that is what is true, and living out in those truths. So I'm so excited that we're on this journey together. So, but Candace, before I let you go, it's time for the shameless plug section.
Plug it in, plug it in.
If you are in need of or interested in some therapy, particularly faith-based or Christian therapy, find me at refreshedcounseling.com. That's REFRESHED counseling.com. Also, I do have a line of t-shirts with our signature t-shirt being one that says Jesus, Coffee, Therapy, Repeat. I call it the formula. Jesus, Coffee, Therapy, Repeat. So you can purchase those as well. Those are available. And coming up soon, you can actually get involved in coaching. If you are maybe you're not looking for a therapeutic process, but if you are looking for coaching to deal with the issues of people pleasing, performance-based living, and perfectionism, you can contact me and sign up for our Shine program. Let your light so shine that men will see the Lord in you. So if you're interested in that coaching program, you can contact us as well, again, at REFRESHED counseling.com.
Just being completely transparent. She would never share this because she's that great. But I've had a few sessions with Miss Candace and they are amazing. I mean, I wrote a whole book and stuff. So get it. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. All right, it is time to call our very first book club meeting to an end. Please, please, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Let me know if you have any feedback and just if you got anything out of it. It's always great to hear from you, the reader. All right, we'll see you next time. Scary.